Let's take one of the email questions. Um, this comes from Bill in California, soon to be Minnesota. Says, sounds like the asking price for Natchez and Zegras. First of all, I got to say that everyone who emails in or goes on Twitter or X to mention how you are linked to Newfoundland to try and get your question onto the show. We do not have we do
That's
not
hilarious.
have a Newfoundland bias here. We are not. It just so happens that questions that we chose really twice or maybe three times happen to be from Newfoundlanders. We love Newfoundlanders. Don't get us wrong, but you don't need to say like, for instance, Neil Terrio, who asked a question that unfortunately we're not going to get to today, but he said "son of a Newfoundlander," if that helps. We had someone else from Nova Scotia say, If it helps to say I'm from Newfoundland, I'm from Newfoundland, but I'm really from Nova Scotia." So, you know, tell us where you're from. You don't have to pretend to be from Newfoundland to get on the show. We accept all maritime provinces and really anywhere to be just as valuable as anywhere else. So Bill is from California, soon to be in Minnesota. Sounds like the asking price for Natchez and Zegras are too high, as we've discussed, at least for my liking. What do you think the Habs would have to offer to get a quote unquote lesser piece like Cole Perfetti from the Winnipeg Jets? Um, what's interesting about Winnipeg is you really get the sense that the way Rick Bowness viewed Cole Perfetti and the way management views Cole Perfetti, there was a bit of a disconnect there, and Perfetti didn't get many opportunities under Rick Bowness. Hell, he didn't dress for the playoffs until deep into the series, right? And um, so obviously Bowness is gone now, but has been replaced by his assistant. So how much of a change are we going to see there? That's the question. Like if they had brought in someone from the outside, that would have been, was it Scott Arniel who got the job? Sorry, his name escaped me momentarily there, but it's, how much of a change are we going to see there? So is he actually available? I don't know, but it's kind of on the smaller side. Like I don't know what the appetite would be for the
Yeah.
Jets to trade him. The Canadians might see him as not being the ideal fit to their forward group. But I still think the Jets would ask for a pretty significant price. Maybe they'd want their old pick back. Maybe they'd want the 26th overall pick back. And
I want
so,
all my picks back,
yeah,
all of them.
jeez. But yeah,
No.
but
Sorry, I'm just quoting draft day.
right. Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if the Canadians would necessarily see that as a fit.
No, and I don't think that Perfetti's going to be traded. I'd be surprised. I mean, the number of guys that are in Winnipeg that are in the last year of their contract, there's going to be quite a turnaround in the next year. And having a guy who's you invested a first round pick in this guy, 10th overall. He's 22 years old. He's still under team control for a number of years. And there's still plenty of time to develop him into the player that you want him to become. I'd be surprised if they were. I mean, yes, he's an RFA now. He's in need of a second contract, and sometimes it's the time to consider how much you want to commit yourself. But I wouldn't be surprised if he just signed a bridge deal and they tried to make it work. And your point about the change of coaching of the head coach might be a welcome change for Perfetti and maybe additional opportunities. So, and also,
I just
the
feel like
size
it would
to
have
me
been
is
to have someone
is a
come in from
no-go.
the outside would have helped even more though. I don't know. I don't know the extent to which the change in coach is going to change much because Scott Darnielle was part of the decision making process that scratched Cole Perfetti in the playoffs. Like I don't know the extent to which.
Yeah, but ultimately, he's not the guy. He was not the decision maker. The head coach looms large, and
Right, but he's not. But
I don't know.
I'm
It's
just saying, Perfetti's not benefiting from a totally clean slate. Is all I'm saying. There's already a history with this guy.
no.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so let's do a couple more, and we'll wrap this up. So Devin from Nova Scotia, that guy,
Yeah.
on email, yeah. So he said, "What, based on what you've both seen and heard, do you think Cayden Lindstrom does better than Beckett Sennecke?" It's an interesting question because when you go one criteria after another, Seneca's got a lot of things going for him. But I think that the speed is really the one thing that Lindstrom has. The combination of size and speed is really at Lindstrom's advantage compared to Sennecke. I think that there's a level also of the a power forward mentality to the style of player that also favors Lindstrom because he's always been a big kid, always been always dominated through his physicality. So he's grown into knowing the sort of player that he would be. When you have a guy who grows late like Sennecke has, it reminds me of Guillaume Latendresse, who was also back in his day had ended up being like a bigger guy with a smaller player's skill set. So because he had a
He was
late
always
growth,
big. Well, he didn't really have a late growth. I
no,
mean, when he was 15,
no. Latendresse had a late growth. He explained at some point that
he played midget
in
AAA
his
at
newer
14.
body, all of his. Yeah, I know.
I saw him play at 14. He was huge. People were bouncing off him when he was 14 years old. It's not comparable to
Really?
Guillaume Latendresse. I saw him play at Charles Lemoine when he was 14 years old, and he was a physically dominant player. People in the midget AAA league were bouncing off him. It was just like,
because I remember him explaining how with the physical with the body that he had now, they expected him to be physical, and he said that's not the type of player that I am. But anyway,
well, that's true, but it's not because he grew late. I mean, that's true, but he had that anyhow. We don't need to get into it, but he had that body at a pretty young age. I mean, he played midget AAA a year early, which is very rare, and so
right.
And I saw him play more than once in that game. I wrote a story about him and his brother when they were 14 and 15, and I would guys would take runs at Guillaume Latendresse, and he didn't have to do anything because they would just literally they would hit him and fall. So he was a big kid, but yeah. Anyhow. But anyhow, but further to the question, it's the meanness in Lindstrom. Like that's I think where you were going with that is that he has a certain meanness to him, an aggression and a disdain for his opponents when he plays that you really see. When he hits someone, he hits them hard. Like he hits to hurt. And that's a quality that Lindstrom brings for sure. He needs to rein it in a little bit. He's a little penalty prone. He takes bad penalties at times, but yeah, it's I think something that he has over Sennecke as well.
Yeah. But Sennecke should be a top 10 pick. There are many.
There's no doubt.
There are more than 10 guys that are top 10 picks.
yeah, exactly. Like someone's gonna. Well, that's the thing is that's why that's why it's so interesting that Jersey and Buffalo has openly shopping their picks at 10 and 11 because you're going to get one of those top 10 talents who are going to fall out, whether that's Yakimchuk, maybe Dickinson, maybe Catton, maybe someone who everyone steals is a top 10 talent will be available outside the top 10. And so, we don't have to speculate with Jersey. Tom Fitzgerald has said openly that pick is available. If he uses it to acquire a Jacob Markstrom, then Calgary's could be picking 9 and 10, which would be really interesting for them. And Buffalo seems to be in a place where they want to probably trade their pick to get some more immediate help. As my colleague in Buffalo, Matt Fairburn, wrote quite astutely, there's prospect fatigue in Buffalo. Yeah. So they need some more immediate help. So you're going to get a good player at those spots, or Philly at 12 or whatever. Those picks in the early teens, you could get someone who otherwise in a normal year would have gone in the top 10.